Hello and welcome to Executive Encore. This is the podcast for visionary women who are navigating the exciting possibilities of their post-corporate lives. I'm your host, Patricia Muir, and I'm glad you're here because through this space, we are helping women build their next chapter. Today, we are diving into a topic that so many of us encounter, especially when we step into new ventures, and that is how we get past the discomfort of promoting ourselves or selling ourselves. So I invited Cindy Stradling, an aligned sales coach with over 25 years of invaluable sales experience. I invited her to come on to Executive Encore to share about her dedication to her career of helping professionals, especially entrepreneurs and coaches, develop a fresh, authentic perspective on selling. Her coaching is tailored and personal. It isn't about rigid scripts. I always love this about Cindy because we spoke about it often, about the fact that we've seen these scripts all the time, and that's not the way we want to influence people about our vision, about having a script. It's like that. What's a script that we talk about? Your unique selling proposition. To me, that is so inauthentic. So we're going to look at a few other perspectives around that today. Cindy, thank you so much for joining us today on Executive Encore.
Oh, Patricia, I'm so excited to be here. And it brought back memories from when you and I first met many years ago.
Yes.
We were laughing before we came on about how you actually came. My sister and I had a sales training program, and you actually came to her house, and you interviewed us. We've come a long way since then. Look at the technology. It's so great. But I agree with you. One of the things that I found in corporate selling, like I've done both, but my focus right now is helping entrepreneurs because over and over again, and most recently with a colleague of mine, there's women especially women who have this fear of selling, or they've got this, this inner dialogue that they're being pushy, or it's all, everybody is different. And that's why I say one size does not fit all. Yeah. And I always had an aversion to an elevator pitch when you were talking about having that. I mean, you can have a couple of words that I always say, give someone a Scooby-Doo moment. So you say something that they'll go, huh? And they'll want to know more about who you are and what you do and the difference that you make. Right. If in fact, how my aligned sales coaching came about was I was having lunch with a colleague of mine, and she said to me that I should restart my sales training because I'd put it on hold for a while. And I said, I don't think a lot of the people I work with actually need another sales training program. What they need is, and this is how I designed it, a 4-week one-on-one program that has us get inside their head individually. So if I was working with Patricia, what Patricia is, afraid of, or whatever her mindset is, or whatever it is, could be very different from Susie or Brenda or any of the other people. And I have seen women transform when they just some very minor shifts, or, maybe they've had a bad experience with working with someone. And, we do need to know what makes us unique. We do need to know the value that we bring. And without that, I mean, we're not going to be able to convince anybody. But if you're approaching it from a place of fear or insecurity, that's going to come through.
Yeah. And I think even if you're coming from it as, maybe you don't have experience in sales and you automatically think it is sales, then you start to think your message is salesy, and therefore it doesn't feel aligned. I love that you talk about being aligned. It's aligned with your message and what you want to bring out into the world, right?
Yeah.
So what you just talked about was such a powerful way of reframing it, and the work that you do with women, because the women who listen to the shows, many of them are at a crossroads. They're coming out of corporate life where they may have been in sales, so they know what sales is, but outside, if they decide to sell their vision or influence people on their vision, promote their vision, it's not the same sales strategy, right? So tell us a little bit about the core ideas around sales. You've mentioned that it's not one size fits all. Can you expand on what you talk about, the truth about sales and our personal stories, and how our lived experience shape the way we show up in that conversation?
Yeah, absolutely. And when you say, one size doesn't fit all is so true. And even when I was training in corporate, I believe that that was the case. Now,
Mhm.
we all know there's sales like RFPs and there's big negotiations. That's
Mhm.
not the kind of sales I'm talking about.
That's right.
I'm talking about an entrepreneur who has a vision, who wants to make a difference in the world, who's super excited. I'll give you a really quick example. So I recently worked with a woman who came from I'm not going to say the industry, so I won't
Mhm.
identify her, but it was a very specialized industry. And she decided to go out on her own, and she created this program. It took her months. She agonized over it. She has it down perfect. We started talking, we started working together. And she said, but she had a huge network of people who already knew who she was. So it wasn't even like she was going cold. And she said, yeah, but I don't want to call people. I don't want to feel pushy. So I said, well, is there a different way that we could reframe this? Is there another way that you could, switch your mindset on it? And I said, could you try calling it sharing
Mhm. Mhm.
versus selling?
Mhm.
And you could see it on her face. I mean, it was a virtual call. She goes, oh, I never thought of that. So it was 3 or 4 days later, I got a voicemail. I thought she was going to come right through the phone. She said, oh my God. She said, I've got the place at I've sold all my tickets. I'm ready to go. She said, and people thanked me. I still
Mm.
got goosebumps. I just got goosebumps. Thanked me for calling them and letting them know
No.
that she had created this program. And
Yeah.
so, and that's, I hear that all the time, Patricia, where people, they're so excited. You can't get someone else excited about your product or service if you're not excited about it.
Mhm.
I don't believe that. And then all of this is my own experience and my own, and there'll always be people that have a different experience, but people buy from people they trust. It's that
Mhm.
simple. In my opinion, and people don't want to be sold.
Mhm. No, they
They want
don't.
to buy. Nobody wants that feeling that, that buyer's remorse, that you feel like you got conned, or you come away from something and you have purchased something that is, no, I don't believe that. And if people can see your value and the difference you're going to make for them, they'll share it with other people. And I
Mhm.
think sharing is probably a better word than sales.
I agree with that. Yeah. If we could just, it's difficult though, because automatically word of sales comes up, and there's people who think that they're good at doing it, but really what they're good at is maybe not selling, but they're good at sharing value, right? Or sharing their vision, even within their own companies, right? Like I talk to women all the time about sharing their vision and their values with people who work with them. Like, that's not selling, that's sharing. But some people
100%.
think that that's very hardcore selling. Yeah.
Well, there is a place for that. There is a place in
Okay.
corporate where you follow, and it's not to say even as an entrepreneur, you have to have a process. You have to have a follow up. My sister and I used to have a saying: "Don't be the buyer and the seller." So sometimes when people go into a call, they've already got the objections in. Oh, I'm too expensive. I don't have enough experience. So we always call that being the buyer and the seller. Well,
Oh, okay.
right? Just because you're coming to that, you have to expect objection. Some people think, wow, they objected. Yes, you have to expect objective. What we do is we work on what are the most likely objections that you're going to get, and how could you respond to them to let them know that you could still solve their issue or still help them do whatever it is that you do, whether it's, a service or if it's a product. It doesn't matter. Whatever that benefit is that they're going to get from purchasing your product or service, you need to be prepared, because most people, and again, this is a generality, is, are there a no? When someone new comes along and they're trying to persuade them, they're automatically a no. So if you go in with the idea that they say no and then you go away, you're going to have a harder time than if you could be prepared. I remember when I worked for CIBC, I was working with mortgage advisors, and we used to do this role play where they had to handle an objection, but they couldn't use rate. And they come up with some pretty crazy, pretty imaginative things. Like the one girl, this was way back, this is a long time ago, when it was first was mobile, where people would come to your home, where a mortgage advisor would come to your home. And that she really excelled on that. Normally, she said before the course, she always went on rate. She said, but she found that one little niche thing where I'll come to you. You don't even have to leave your home. We can do it in your slippers or something along those lines. So they had some fun with it. So expecting someone to not object isn't doing your homework. So one of the things I do is I do a lot of role play with my clients. So I'm a terrible buyer. I'm very negative. And I give them to grow that muscle. So by the time they get to it real, then they know that they're good.
Yeah, it would be much better role playing with someone who is playing the role to the tilt, right, or to the hilt, and then they'd be very surprised. I would think if they were able to answer that objection and feel more trust in their own process and their way of communicating. Yeah. Talking about trust, their own trust, but could you talk a little bit about the importance of building trust and how that becomes the real foundation of any successful sales process?
Absolutely, because without trust, you've got nothing. And that's with any business relationship, any personal relationship. In fact, I still have, and we ended up canceling our lunch, but I spoke with her last week. I still have my very first customer that I got 21 years ago.
Really? Wow.
And I actually told her I was coming on. Actually, I was on another podcast last week and I was coming on. And I said to her, why have you stayed with me all these years? Like, why? What is it about me? And she said, because you do what you say, what you do, and do what you say. And I know if you tell me you're going to do something, it's going to happen. And that's the way to build trust. Like it's through the follow-up. So if you tell your customer, I'm going to send you XYZ on Tuesday, you send it on Tuesday and you stay in touch with them. So I remember reading an article a number of years ago that said the biggest complaint clients have with salespeople is they disappear after the sale.
Yeah.
So they have the sale. I come from what they call, and this is really old fashioned. I'm going to date myself now, but I still believe it's true. I don't care how old you are. Is that what we used to call a farmer? We used to call it farming. So you think about a farmer, they plant a seed. Right? So that's what you do when you cold call or you reach out to someone on social media. You're planting a seed. You're letting them know you're there. I have this service. I have this product. And then what you do with the seed, you water it, you give it fertilizer. So you may send them articles. Back in the day, I would invite them to showcases, whatever it took for them to get to know me a little bit better. And then you harvest. Then you have the order, or, I can't even tell you the number of people that have said the reason because I never went away. Even when they told me to go away, I never went away. But it's a gentle follow-up.
Yeah. And so it's not a quick sale, or here's something that we talk about when we talk about sales too. And it's not transactional. You talk about building the relationship, building the trust. And so then we're getting away from this salesy feeling. And what we're doing is we're building relationships of authenticity and trust with people who you could probably go on to a different product and they would follow you with that product or service, right? Because they know you as the professional
Right.
who shares valuable services, products, or whatever with them. Yeah, I've heard of that actually, of people who sell a particular type of product and high ticket product, and they go to a different industry and they will go back to their clients, and they've built such a great relationship that when that client is ready to buy that piece of equipment or that service, they want to buy it from that person because they know that they're going to get that extra service, that relationship with it. So they don't feel like they're out in the cold with someone new, right?
And I want to highlight what you just said, Patricia, because you said when they're ready. So no only means no today.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So a lot of new salespeople, they assume that when someone says no, that's it forever. No, no. So they don't have a need, but that's where the farming, that's where you keep the relationship going. This is where you keep staying in touch. So you stay top of mind when the product or service is needed. And, I always say to people, you may never need my services. You may never have a need for them, but you can't call me if you don't know I'm there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's that simple. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So you've given us so much incredible insight about flipping or reframing sales, especially if we're not comfortable or we were not in a sales position. But as you have mentioned, we're all in sales to a certain degree, right? We're all trying to influence people. So this works very well with being able to influence people, even if it's to influence them to accept what our vision is, right?
100%.
Yeah. Yeah. So where is the best place to learn more about your programs and what you provide to women entrepreneurs, coaches, or even to people who, they have this vision and they're trying to figure out how to influence other people with their vision? Could even be in a nonprofit. Where can they meet?
100%. Well, it's simple. My name, cindystradling.com. It's like Patricia.com, patriciamira.com.
Yeah.
It makes it really easy. And
Yeah.
another thing too is listening. And one of the things that we talk about is paraphrasing. And if I understand what you're saying, like at the end of a call with a client or whatever, I always like to go back. So if I understand what you're saying, this is what you really want to achieve. I always go to what the results are, because my goal is to give you the tools to be able to get there. So I may not have them all in that moment, but at the end of our 4 weeks, you would like to be able to XYZ. That sets the sort of the course for everybody. And it's different for each person. Because some people have no problem at all calling someone, and other people are petrified.
Oh yeah, that would be the part that would petrify me. When they used to talk about cold sales and things like that, I thought, oh, don't call me cold. And I would not want to call anyone else cold as well. So
Well, yeah.
I know there were some people who were very proficient at that. Their product, their service required that, but I think we've come a long way since then. So some of the takeaways today from our conversation is that we can transform our so-called sales conversions, conversations into genuine relationship building. That's a key.
100%.
We can also use our unique story and our background, our history to connect deeply with our community, and even keep that relationship going for decades, as you mentioned, right? And so it's not the sale of one product. It's about building that relationship almost for our lifetime with people that will trust us. We can attract the right people to our vision without compromising our values. So that's what I felt as you were telling me about how you look at sales. I ask all my podcast guests, Cindy, about the moment when they realized that they wanted to remaster their lives and work. That's what Executive Encore is about. I'd love to hear your story about that.
Well, I think I've done it a couple of times actually.
Hmm.
And I think one of the times was when we first initially met.
Hmm.
And it was probably maybe not even a year ago when I recognized that I needed to have something I could do till I was 80. So I know it sounds crazy. I'm going to be 74 this year and I got 6 years to go, and I was like, okay, Cindy, I want you want to make it count.
Uh-huh.
Right? And that's when I designed the whole Align Sales after all of the experience I had, all the people I've coached over the years, all the sales that I've done. I recognize that most of at least the people I work with, didn't need another sales training course, like a
Hmm.
generic, this is how you do it. And it's proven me right. Like, people are getting amazing results. And one thing that came out with one of the girls that I was speaking with a couple of weeks ago, she said, my level of confidence, just the confidence to be able to get on a call that I used to just be petrified for. And a lot of it's virtual now. So it's actually a lot safer. My goodness, when we used to do it, it would be like you have to drive, you have to get all dressed up and all that. So it's changed a lot. So it's a lot easier. But for me, it was like, this is my vision for I don't know if it's a legacy. Maybe it's a legacy if you want to call it
It
that.
could
But
be your legacy. It's your opportunity to take, and I love talking about this with women, taking everything that you've learned about your specialty and now packaging it or seeing how you can make it more impactful. So it is your legacy, but this time is not going to be your legacy. This time is going to be your ability to make more impact. So I think
yes.
that's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And
that
then maybe semi-retire at 80. I don't
that's semi-retire,
know.
semi-retire at 80. Yeah, yeah. We don't talk much about retirement in this neighborhood, but
No.
yeah, I know what you mean. It's all about going back to source. I read something that made me feel a little better about the word retirement over the weekend, and retire means going back to source. So
Oh,
when
I
you're in
like
your
that.
80s, you can go back to your source and look at the impact that you've made with how you have transitioned and remastered your life and work. So I
Yeah.
think that's great, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, to our incredible community of listeners, thank you for joining us again for another episode of Executive Encore. We hope that this conversation has inspired you to be intentional about your next steps. And please subscribe to Executive Encore wherever you get your podcasts. I would also be grateful if you leave a review and some comments on YouTube so that this channel reaches other women that can learn from other women like Cindy and my other guests about how they can make more impact and maybe not feel that they are coming out of, say, their prime corporate life to nothing. There's always something, and there's always something they can start with. It's never too late. Um, all the links are not only on the visible YouTube channel, but you'll be able to see them in the show notes. If you do want to get a hold of Cindy for any reason, she'd be very happy to have a good conversation with you about her topic or perhaps what you're looking for. If you're looking for something that perhaps I can provide, please contact me at patriciamuir.com and on the website. And also take a look at some of the information on the website about the Executive Encore for Women. It's a membership and community site. It's a platform for women who are proving every day that our best chapters are still being written.
Mhm.
Please subscribe to the Sunday Encore newsletter today. You can see the code up in the left-hand corner that you can use that with your camera to get onto the opt-in. The reason why you want to get onto the newsletter today is because what I do with my guests, like I will be writing a blog about what Cindy and I have talked about during our call. But then on Sunday, there is the newsletter. So only newsletter subscribers and members of Executive Encore network for women will receive the special offer from Cindy. Okay, so there's a link in the newsletter, and you'll be able to see the full scope of how I feature these great guests that I have. And I just would like you to remember that this can happen for you too. This is where your executive encore begins. This is where you start to live, work, and lead very differently and anchored in the self-trust that you've built with yourself. Some people call it confidence. I talk about self-trust, but really it is about trusting that we're doing the best things for ourselves. So until next time, take care of yourself, do what's best for you, and don't jeopardize what you built for yourself. Thank you.